for us, we wanted time more than we wanted stuff along the way. And so for us, it was really easy. Like, do we want to blow $300 on like a fancy anniversary dinner, or do we want to have like a nice cozy picnic or something like with a home cooked meal? Especially when the drawback is we lose some of our own time for that. It was an easy choice for us to make.
This is Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert, and I'm Meredith. I explore the questions people think but don't ask out loud, either because they're taboo or thanks to cultural hypnosis. My mission, and yours if you choose to accept it, is to inspire curiosity by exploring the nuance and paradox of our world. Each episode is different, so bring your ADD and your earbuds and have a look around. Hey, Curiositors, it's me, Meredith. This episode hits two interest points for me: travel and financial freedom. But even if you hate travel, which I don't know why you would hate travel, but let's say you do, you'll love what these millennials have to say about finances. They share what it means to retire at age 29, why they don't track their monthly expenses, and how you can buy back your time with some strategic, smart money moves. If you end up liking this episode, you'll also like the episode where I talk with the mother of the financial independence retire early movement about what the point of financial independence even is. That's episode 151. As always, I'm so thankful for you pressing play today. It's not easy growing a show that literally defies the algorithm, but all of you make it possible. Remember, if you think of someone while you're listening, share this episode with that person. This helps me grow the show and spread the message of curiosity. And if you're new here, welcome. Around here, we press play to get curious, disrupt the algorithm, and grow into better humans. We talk about everything from human behavior to hauntings. So bring your ADD and your earbuds and have a look around. There's no specific order to listen to episodes. All right, enjoy the show. If you've spent any time scrolling Instagram, you've probably seen some hashtag #VanLife20-somethings living the dream, traveling the world, sharing their global adventures while you sit at your desk eating lunch, wondering, how are they doing this? Well, my next guests are here to help. After graduating college, they invested 60 to 80% of their combined income, which was between $75 and $170K, and retired at age 29. At this point, you're either thinking, retired to do what? Or, hell yeah, how do I do that? Today, they're going to share both the why and the how as we explore the question, how do we retire early? Millennial bloggers, globe-trotting retirees, lifestyle hackers, Lauren and Stephen Keys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Hey.
So this lifestyle has been your normal for a while now, but I mean, it's not like the normal, right? I think we can all agree on that. So where did you get the idea to begin your adult lives like this?
So really, I think what happened was after we graduated college, we started to have some amount of income, not a crazy amount of income. And we sort of realized, because we were used to not spending tons of money in college because living that broke college student lifestyle, that once you get real jobs, it kind of feels like a lot of extra money. And we kind of asked the question of, well, what are you supposed to do with that excess income? And kind of the automatic answer to that, I think, for most people is, well, money's for spending, so buy some stuff, right? Get a nicer car, get a nicer apartment, whatever your thing is, right? But we were like pretty happy with what we already had, and we were like happy with our level of spending already. So we started to ask, like, well, what do you do if you have extra income and you have nothing else that you really, really want to buy? And that's when we stumbled on this idea of investing money. And so instead of spending that extra income, we learned how to invest.
I love that your story and your answer is related to not an idea that was added to your life, but an idea that was absent from your life. The idea that you have to follow the lifestyle creep consumerism model was absent from your life. And so that allowed you space to ask the question, what else could we do? Which is really freaking cool. I recently interviewed Vicki Robin, which I'm sure you know is the mother of the FIRE movement, right? And we had this great conversation about her philosophy about money and life energy and just really cool stuff. I would love to hear from both of you on what you consider your life money philosophy.
So, I guess the idea behind, money is you need money to do certain things, right? And everybody maybe feels like they need a certain amount of money to get the stuff they need to be happy, which for everyone includes like food and shelter and just basic things. And if you can maintain a lower number for like what you need, then you wind up with a bunch of extra money, right? And so then you have a choice between either buying stuff with that money, extra stuff, or you can actually trade that money for extra time. And like what I mean by that is, how do you get money in the first place? You go to work, right? So if you save up that money or invest it so it produces income for you, well, then that savings and that investment income can replace the amount of time that you have to spend at work. So you actually get to buy back decades of your life into the future. So we just think of it as you can either buy stuff or you can buy time and freedom.
And I think where we kind of got the idea that there is something else to buy was kind of right after college. We went on a road trip, 45 days in our Honda Civic from Florida to Alaska and back. And it was like the one time in our lives that we didn't have any responsibility. Like we had just finished school. We weren't starting our jobs yet. So there was no like back burner responsibilities to be managing. It was just purely, we were on the road. Every day was a new, like waking up. What do you want to do today? Let's go to this place. And I think that level of freedom, we didn't probably realize it at the time, but I think that really sparked in us that there's something more to life than just like the grind. Because we were in between the grinds and we were like, oh, there's something else here. It's called like living. And I think that's where that's where we got the idea.
I love you so much for that right now. Yeah, it's called life. It's called recreation. Yeah. I have goosebumps. I literally have goosebumps right now just hearing what you're saying, because I personally resonate with that a lot. And this lifestyle has afforded both of you some really special moments. What would you say those top benefits are for you?
For me, top benefit, not setting an alarm clock in the morning.
He is not a morning person. Like he's not awake until about 3 p.m. So we got him on a good day.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Stephen, for your sacrifice of coming here. Good grief. What about you, Lauren?
I think for me, it's the ability to kind of, I don't know, I'm very much like I like to do different stuff all the time. And so I think it's the ability to like, just, if I wake up today and want to go do something, I can do it. Like last night I was like, hey, we should go look at Christmas lights. And so we just did. And I didn't have to think twice about it or wonder like, is it too late or do we need to, there's no questions as to what, like, can I do this thing? The only question is, do I want to?
In terms of, I was just going to say, like, in terms of, I guess, like the tangible benefits or the ones that people kind of, I guess, focus on when they look at our lives, travel has been a big one, right? Mm-hmm. So we took 6 months off work at one point when we were still working full time. And we went to Hawaii and just kind of hung out there for a while.
We labeled that our honeymoon.
Yeah. And we took another 7 months later on and we visited every national park in the United States, in a camper van mostly. So that was pretty fun. And nowadays, we live right across the street from the beach. And so those are sort of the things that I think people from the outside point in and say like, oh, those are cool aspects that maybe I want to try. So.
Yeah, I think so. Even for people who aren't travel oriented, I think they can appreciate the freedom that you're talking about. And you're retired. You retired at age 29. What does that mean? What does retired mean when you're, that young?
So mathematically, I guess, the genesis of retirement is this thing called financial independence, which just means that you have theoretically enough money from investments that it could pay at least your basic living expenses for the rest of your life if you never worked again. And so once you reach that level, or even when you get kind of close to that level, you really have the option of whether you want to keep working or not. So for us, we kind of started phasing into that lifestyle a little bit before we hit that point, actually right around age 29, and we stopped working full-time jobs. And by phased in, what I mean is, when you're 29 years old, I don't think a lot of people see themselves as never doing any kind of productive work ever again for the rest of their lives. That's not really realistic for most people. Most people like some kind of like work or productivity, right? So we just kind of transitioned into part-time and kind of just took on whatever work we felt like doing. And if we didn't feel like doing work, we felt like traveling or doing something else, we always have that option. So that's kind of the phase of life that we're in right now. And that's what retirement sort of looks like for us. But work is financially totally optional.
I think it lets you be more choosy. You can choose the kinds of projects that you work on or the way that you spend your time, whether that's in conjunction with a company because you like need their resources or they're working on a project that you want to contribute to, or, doing your own thing, starting a hobby, starting a project, all those things. You just get more choices, I think, is what's exciting about early retirement.
And exploring those choices, I think, ultimately leads to less end of life regret. I mean, that's a little dark, but it's true. It's true.
It's real. Yeah.
No one on their deathbed's like, you know what I should have done? I should have worked more. I should have definitely, put in those weekend hours. Yeah. Said no one ever. So Stephen, you said, when you have enough money that technically you don't have to work anymore, how do you know what that number is?
Actually, the math is fairly easy on that. So first of all, the kinds of investments that we're using are these really easy passive investments called index funds. So it's just a mixture of stock market index funds and bond market index funds. And if you mix those together in some reasonable ratio and kind of just set it and forget it, then you can expect over the long run that if you withdraw no more than 4% of that portfolio per year, plus inflation every year. So you get to give yourself like a little raise to account for inflation. So that's kind of built into the math. Then you're very likely to never run out of money, no matter how long you keep doing that. Like it could go on indefinitely. And it's not an absolute guarantee, but it's very, very likely to succeed over the course of, all the historical data that we have to look at. So what that means, right? Like the easy math there is if you take whatever you spend in a year, and you multiply that number by 25, which if you're wondering where 25 comes from, that's the inverse of 4%. Multiply whatever you spend in a year by 25. That's how much money you theoretically need to retire. So, if you spend $20,000 in a year, then you need $500,000 to retire. If you spend $40,000 in a year, you need $1 million invested.
Interesting. Okay, so this is really painting the picture of why living with less can give you more options and more money in the long haul. So I have another question for you, Stephen, because I know you're the numbers guy, not to say, Lauren, that you aren't, but
my background is in journalism, so definitely numbers are a better question for Stephen. I'm not good with the mental math. I can do it, but then I need a piece of paper and it's going to take a long time.
I'm with you. And if you give me the paper, I'll end up drawing you an ocean landscape before I will do the math. So you and me, girl, we're on the same team. So thankfully we have people like Stephen here to help us with this. So I think a lot of people hear this way of thinking, this way of living. I've definitely come across this, which is talking with other people about the financial journey of me and my husband and kind of like what our goals and ambitions are also along with what we've done. And they just sort of hang their head, their shoulders round, and they go, oh, that would be nice, but I'm just not willing to fill in the blank thing that they were not willing to sacrifice. They just feel like it would be, an exorbitant amount of giving upness. What's your take on all that, Stephen?
Well, like I mentioned before, for us, it never really felt like giving anything up and I think we got lucky for discovering this sort of concept early on in life, because we came right out of college, and like I said, we weren't used to spending a whole bunch of money. Like we didn't have brand new cars and a luxury apartment, or whatever
we were
things it is that people spend money on, right? We didn't upgrade to all that stuff yet. And we kind of just recognized that we were already happy with what we had. So the idea of continuing to spend, $20,000 a year for two people, or $25,000 a year for two people, or whatever, seemed perfectly normal and reasonable to us. So there was no like cutting back or sacrifice involved in that. Now, if you're a little later on in life, and maybe you have upgraded, and maybe you're a two-person household with three brand new cars and whatever else it is, then yeah, you do have to make some changes in your lifestyle to make this work, unless you just have a ridiculously large income. And even then, it's pretty easy to spend all of any level of income. So you have to make some conscious choice to do that. But I guess my best advice to someone who's trying to make that choice is to remember back. Money can buy two different things, right? It can either buy those things, or it can literally buy back decades of your life, of time, to do what you want before you die, right? And so it's just a personal choice of which one of those do you want more? And yet you have to face the reality that that's an actual choice you get to make, which most people don't really think about in the first place.
The idea of buying back your time is pretty powerful. And what I'm hearing you say is really for that person that feels, defeated before they even start because, I love my fill in the blank, whatever the thing is. You're talking about assessing your own happiness. I mean, you're not saying it in those terms. You're saying it more like mathematical terms, but Lauren, since you are more of the, wordy one, would you agree that that is a correct assessment of mindset to start a journey like this?
Yes, I do think that it is useful to believe that it is worth it, the effort that you're putting in. I don't know that it always has to feel like effort. Again, if you're recognizing that the choice that you're making is the right one, and that it's a good choice, and it's the thing that you'd rather have. Like Stephen was saying, for us, we wanted time more than we wanted stuff along the way. And so for us, it was really easy. Like, do we want to blow $300 on like a fancy anniversary dinner, or do we want to have like a nice cozy picnic or something, like with a home cooked meal? Especially when the drawback is we lose some of our own time for that. It was an easy choice for us to make. And I think that if people understand that they are making that choice consciously or unconsciously, it starts to become a little bit easier. For us, we tracked our net worth along the way. And so seeing progress, I think, really helps make the journey more encouraging. And we even kind of did a dry run, so to speak, when we took that trip to Hawaii for 6 months. At that point, we had 7 years of expenses saved.
Yeah, our net worth was around $150,000 at the time we went to Hawaii. We were around 24, 25 years old.
And that represented 7 years worth of our living expenses.
Right. So we were nowhere near like a retirement level at that time.
But enough that, hey, we're going to quit our jobs. And if we don't find a new job to replace it, and we have 7 years to find a new job to replace it before we're bankrupt, and it shouldn't take that long. It was going to Hawaii again. It was a bit of a break from reality. We had that experience again from that road trip where we were waking up every day, and we actually made a list that we put on our refrigerator and consulted the list of what do you want to do today? And it was a whole itemized stuff we want to explore, places we wanted to go on the island. And having that kind of like self-directed day, having that kind of freedom. And we were still working, but like 10 hours a week, like just enough to pay the bills. So we didn't actually even end up tapping that savings. But that break, that 6-month time period in Hawaii kind of proved to us this model of early retirement, that having those savings can let you feel safe enough, or give you the courage rather, to take riskier choices like going to Hawaii for 6 months, or changing jobs or what have you. And that was really encouraging as well.
Yeah. And like, it's a good point. Like, if you're making this choice between buying stuff that you want or luxuries that you want and buying time, if you can get excited about buying time, if you can get excited about the thing that you're buying instead, you realize like, oh, I'm not giving something up. I'm not making a sacrifice. I'm literally just using my money to buy something I want more than the other stuff. And so I'm very excited to make a better purchase. It's like if you shop around online and you find 2 different things you want to buy, you decide on the better one and you're excited about it. You're not sad about the worst thing that you didn't buy, right? And so that Hawaii trip helped us to realize, yeah, time off and time to explore and do fun stuff, that's like the thing we're the most excited about buying. And so, yeah, actually taking some time off before you're anywhere near that retirement level earlier on can be important to motivate you. And so we actually have included as a step on our financial roadmap on our website, take some time off way before you reach retirement, because it can be very motivational. It can be a very worthwhile experience, even though it's not really like the financially fastest and best thing to do along the way.
That is such good advice. Oh my gosh, I love this. I'm really enjoying watching the two of you, like your perspectives come together also. It's just really neat to see how the balance, and I think every family situation has their own unique dynamics. But it's just really neat to see how y'all have dialed in your strengths and your perspectives to create an uncommon life. You talked about Hawaii and you talked about mindset. I would love for Stephen, for you to talk about, what do you call it? The units per something? Going to pause real quick to show appreciation to our sponsors. When we come back, you'll hear how Lauren and Stephen afforded a 6-month honeymoon in Hawaii, how they communicate about money, and why they don't track their monthly expenses. If you ever wonder where I find guests for the show, the answer is it varies a lot. And since it's something that gets asked a lot, I started including the backstory of each episode in my Monday emails. And then on Saturday, I share cliff notes and clickable links in case what you heard was so good you wish you could have taken notes. If you want to be included, text REAL to 66866 if you're in the US, or go to meredithforreal.com if you're elsewhere. If you're listening north of the state of Georgia, mosquitoes are not top of mind right now. But if you're in the Florida Panhandle or Gulf Coast of Alabama, you're already dusting off your grill and citronella candles. Make life easy for future you and get your property scheduled for a mosquito treatment with Insect. I've been using them since 2019 and they continue to impress me. They guarantee their work and pollinators are always top of mind. Check them out at ensec.net. If you watch the show on YouTube, then you see the beautiful backdrop of Trader John's, the exhibit where I record the show inside the Pensacola Museum of History. This is just one museum under the umbrella of the UWF Historic Trust. If you're planning a trip to Pensacola and need an indoor activity option, pick up a ticket. It's good for a whole week. Get your tickets in person so you can show the agent one of my emails and get $2 off an adult ticket. Now back to the show. Remember to stay till the end where I give you a sneak peek of next week's episode.
Oh, yeah. So this is just sort of part of our travel philosophy, right? Which is when you travel, taking a look at the cost per unit time of that travel experience. So our Hawaii trip is like the perfect example of that, right? So if you ask like a typical family about their experience going to Hawaii, because lots of people go to Hawaii for vacation, usually it goes something like this. It goes, okay, here's what we did. We bought multi-$1,000 round trip plane tickets for each member of our family. Then we got hotels, which by the way are extra expensive in Hawaii, $200+ per night for every hotel room. We rented a car for, $50 to $150 a night, depending on the current market. Things have been kind of crazy lately. And then when we got there, we had about 1 week, because that's the amount of time we could negotiate off work. And we rushed around the island as much as possible, spending, effectively, if you add it all up, as much as $500 or $1,000 a day to have this experience.
Eating out, taking on, tours and things like that, because you've only got so much time to fit everything in.
And we cut back on sleep as much as possible on it, because we wanted to make the most out of this week that we got.
Refreshed.
Yeah, and maybe you came home and you ended up spending several $1,000s, $5,000, $10,000 for 1 week in Hawaii. And oh, by the way, a good 20 hours plus of that time was probably spent on the travel there and the travel back, right? And so what did you really get out of your money? Your cost per unit time, that is the cost per day is one way of thinking about it, may have been as much as thousands of dollars, right? It could have been even a 4-figure sum per day. And even if it's not $500 a day, $750 a day, whatever it is, it's expensive, right? And so a way to fight that is to set up your life so you can take off a lot more than a week at a time, right? So save up a bunch of money, even if you don't have nearly enough to retire, having enough, few years of expenses so that you feel safe taking some time off work. And that is, when I say taking time off work, I don't mean asking your employer, may I please take some time off work? I mean saying, hey, I'm going to go on a sabbatical, and if you don't let me go on the sabbatical, that's fine. No hard feelings. I'm going to quit my job and I'll just find another one when I come back, right? Being in that kind of financial position in your life will let you go on these longer trips, like our 6-month trip to Hawaii, which maybe you don't want to do 6 months, maybe do 3 months, whatever. But it allows you to do things like in Hawaii, we rented an apartment on a 6-month lease, and the rent, I don't want to misquote here, but I think it was under $1,000 a month. Yeah, it was under $1,000 a month for an apartment in Hawaii that was literally across the street from the ocean. And this was in
to our rent back home, by the way. Like, our lease ended and we moved away, but like our rent that we were paying in Florida was comparable to like what we were now paying in Hawaii.
Yeah, and so just to give some context to that, because I know people are thinking this is unbelievable, $1,000 a month in Hawaii across the street from the ocean. It was 2015, so prices have gone up some since then. And this is on the Big Island of Hawaii, which, by the way, is the lowest real estate cost island in Hawaii. But still, very affordable. And back then, hotel prices were well over $200 a night still. So if you look at just that one expense as an example, right, $1,000 a month divided by 30 days, right, you're looking at a very, very low per night cost compared to $200+ a night hotels. And when you do the same thing for all of your other expenses, like, for example, we didn't have to have a rental car for the whole time. We just bought a car for $4,500 when we got there, cheap used car. We actually sold that car for $5,600 when we left. We made money on the car, so we spent nothing for that. And you can repeat this for virtually every expense. You buy groceries at Costco and Walmart and cook them in your nice apartment that you rented, instead of eating out every night and not being able to cook in the tiny hotel room that you're paying $200 a night for, right? It's just a win on every single category. And so it ended up being that in Hawaii back in 2015, our total expenses for the entire 6-month trip, it was something like $11,000 or $12,000 for the entire 6 months. And so when you divide that out and figure out the cost per day or the cost per month or per whatever unit time you want, it is way cheaper than anyone could have ever conceived a Hawaii vacation for. And so we kind of repeated that with many vacations. We've taken quite a few multi-month vacations since then, and they're all, that level of cheap.
Well, now too, with our van, last summer we tracked all of our expenses, because that's not something we do very regularly, actually, is tracking our expenses. We just know kind of what we need to spend to be happy. We spend that, and we don't really pay much attention to what that number actually is in reality. But we did track our numbers on our summer trip last summer, which was a couple months long. And I think we ended up being at about like $36 a day all in on our per person with our van. So that was like fairly affordable too when you're talking about a like vacation.
So if you don't track your expenses every month, what do you track every month?
So the only financial number that we've ever tracked in any sense is our net worth. And there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, your net worth, that's just all of the assets that you have. So all of your investments and your cash and the value of your house and all that stuff, minus any debt that you have. That one number summarizes your entire financial picture as succinctly as possible, right? So if that number is going up over time consistently and at a rate that you're happy with, it really doesn't matter what else is going on in your finances. You're doing great. If your net worth keeps going up over time at a rate that's meaningful to you, you're doing awesome. It kind of accounts for everything in one step. And the other reason is it's really easy to track. Tracking your expenses, it's like breaking things down into categories, and you start kind of policing yourself and asking, oh, I spent more on food this month than on last month. Am I bad for doing that? We don't do any kind of that stuff. We spend whatever we want on anything that we feel like we need to be happy, which really is very little. And then we just take a look at our net worth every month. And if we're happy with the results that we're getting, nothing else really matters. And I think part of the reason why we don't really track our expenses, and I'm not saying it's bad to track your expenses, I think that's something that I would encourage a lot of people to do, especially if they're in the boat of trying to cut back from like a high level. That's a fine thing to do.
You have to at some point know what that number is, but you don't have to meticulously track it, like Stephen was saying, to the point where like you're feeling bad because there's like $1 extra here in this category than last month or whatever.
Yeah, I think people have this automatic perception when they listen to the things that we say, like, oh, well, we saved 60 to 80% of our incomes, right? And we never made $100,000 per year per person, right? We never even exceeded that level. At one point, we were making $40,000 a year per person. And people hear this and they say, oh, you must have taken extreme measures to track your meticulously every expense. We never did any of that. I mean, we barely paid attention to our finances throughout the process because we just found that if we only bought the stuff that we really needed and we bought it as efficiently as possible, grocery shopping at Walmart and Costco instead of a fancy grocery store, and sharing one used car instead of having 2 or 3 brand new cars,
cooking meals at home.
Yeah, all that stuff. If you just do the common sense stuff, like just cut out waste from your life, like literally stuff that we thought of as like, this is a complete waste of money. If you cut out that stuff and you have a regular middle class income, you're going to find that you have a massive surplus of money automatically. And you can't help but see your checking account start just gushing and overflowing with extra money. And so you don't need to track your expenses or pay much attention to that stuff. You just need to direct that money somewhere productive, like index fund investments, for example. And like, you're good to go. So that's kind of why we took like a broader view of our finances. We just never wanted to like stress out or even think about it. It just kind of came naturally when you cut out waste from your budget.
So do you automatically have transfers scheduled every month to go to those various investment accounts or to savings accounts? Because a lot of people see how they reconcile their checking account is they just look at their phone app for their bank and go, oh, I'm good. I've got this money in there. So more money for a lot of people visually equals more spending automatically, right? So they don't have this like predisposition of minimal stuff equals maximum happiness. So is that what y'all do? Or do you have like a conversation every month about, okay, we're going to move this money here, invest it there?
Yeah. So it's like even easier than any of those possibilities. So we use this thing that we termed the sweep away method. It's kind of like if you want to call it a budgeting technique, we think of it as like the opposite of keeping a budget. But basically, so, again, I'm trying to start from the basic concept here. If 2 people are making $40,000 a year, let's say after tax, right? That's $80,000 a year total. And they only spend 20. That's $60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month. that's just piling up into your checking account automatically without you having to try or do anything, right? So again, you kind of start from this surplus stage where your checking account is just gushing and overflowing with money and you can't even help it, right? That's where we were at. And then what we did is we just set targets for how much we wanted to keep in each of our cash accounts. So in our checking account, we generally keep 1 to 3 months of expenses. And that's just a little bit of cushion for like, hey, if I have to pay for an extra expense or something, I can just pull it out of my checking account. I can set all my bills to auto pay.
That's what
I
I
don't
was
have to
gonna say.
worry anything about paying bills. They just automatically pay themselves out of my checking account. Don't worry about it. When my checking account constantly, every single month, is exceeding this threshold, then we just sweep all the excess above 1 to 3 months of living expenses into a high yield savings account as the next level. And then that high yield savings account will very quickly overflow and gush with money, right? And so that account, we set a target for 3 to 12 months. For us, we keep it more closer to 12 months of living expenses in that account in cash. And we think of that as like an emergency fund or like a, hey, if we need a large sum of cash for any real reason, it's there in case we need it. It's not earning too much of a good return. It's in a savings account. And then from there, the rest sweeps into paying off high interest debt if you have any, which we never did. So we kind of skipped that step, but that's very important. And then from there, all of the rest for the rest of your life sweeps into these investments. And so very quickly in the process, your checking account, your savings account fill up to their target levels. Your high interest debt disappears. That's all like fast. That's going to happen in the first year or two probably of doing something like this. And then from then on, every month, you're just sweeping the extra money from your checking account straight into those investments. And we don't have that set up automated because it's a different amount every month, right? We don't have a target like we're going to invest $5,000 a month every single month. It's just we pay for whatever we need in life, whatever that may be. And then whatever's left over, which is automatically lots of money, just gets swept into the investments.
This is a very unusual approach to me, but I'm really intrigued by it. I think the average Joe or Jane listening to this might also be intrigued by it, but go, yeah, that'd be nice if my spouse was on board. Now, I know you all started out strong out of the gate. So this, perspective is not necessarily a strong contrast of before and after. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your communication style when it comes to money. Are y'all like brushing your teeth in the morning going, hey, how much are we going to sweep away to our investments today? Or is it like a sit down, like, okay, like me and my husband have a monthly money meeting. And it's like where we go over our goals, how much we have in savings, like, just it's like making our spending plan and looking at our goals. And it's like a moment in time. So what is your style?
So when we first started tracking our net worth, right out of college, when we started learning about investing and all of that, and we set, this kind of financial independence goal, I told Stephen that I wanted to track it the way that like you see like fundraisers tracked, where like, when you're in school and you like color in a thermometer.
Yes, I'm about that life. I literally have a thermometer, so I'm tracking you so hard right now. Yes, I'm with you.
Like that is like, I was like, I want it to be like a thermometer where we track and we see it like fill up all the way to like what we want, what our goal numbers are. And so it's not quite like a thermometer on the wall per se. We have a spreadsheet and it's got a few different charts that Stephen has generated. But we have a monthly, like reconciling all of the accounts and like figuring out what the net worth number is. So we do it manually because like that's a good time also to make sure that stuff isn't being like overcharged or, that like your intro rate of your internet didn't fall off and now you're paying double, because that happens. Like I just had to have that phone call recently, but yeah, every month we track our net worth and we could see that number growing. And, as our salaries increase, we expected that number to increase as well, because our spending stayed the same. And so that was always really exciting. Like in our long form chart, you can see like, oh, this jag is like upward is like where we started earning more, or like, oh, this dip or this like plateau where we didn't really save anything and we were just keeping it steady, that's Hawaii. Like it's an interesting kind of telling of our story in a chart form, but we don't really talk about money otherwise, because I think we're just on the same page about things. But we do have a monthly check-in. It's just Stephen, I think, does most of the accounting work, and then he tells me like that I can go look at the chart, and then we talk about maybe why it is different this month or what have you.
And you mentioned goal setting, right? And so I'd say, like, as a communication tool and as a relationship tool, that's probably the number one best thing that helped us along the way. And so obviously, as like the big overarching huge goal, that was financial independence. That was figuring out what is 25 times our annual expenses going to look like, and that was like our, wow, this is like the big lifetime goal that we're looking at. I will say what's kind of funny about that, having a goal is great. You should definitely do it. It makes you feel really good along the way. What's funny though is that that goal sort of like melted away as we started getting closer to it. Like, you would think we'd get more excited as we were getting closer to it, but we kind of were like, wait, when you have 15 times your annual expenses, 15 years of expenses and investments, or 20, it's just as good as having 25 or 30, right? Like, you feel this freedom of like, I don't need to do much more work to get where I need to go, and I'm 20 something years old. Like, it's not that important anymore to like reach this goal as soon as possible. So it was kind of funny to see how that goal was like more exciting in the beginning, which maybe is good. Maybe we needed the motivation in the beginning, and then later on it was like, we'll get there when we get there. It's fine.
That's so interesting.
But goal setting was really, really good for us. And in terms of spending, like conversations, like, do we want to spend the money on this? We have very few of those. The stuff that we find to be important to spend money on, I think we both find really important to spend money on.
And that's a conversation that some people do need to have if they're not on the same page about it. Like, we were kind of naturally on the same page, I think, because of some of those experiences, like taking that road trip and being happy with like our college lifestyle. We didn't have a disconnect about what we needed to spend to be happy. We were on the same page about that, and not everyone is. And I think like you do need to have that conversation, because some people are happy at a higher spending level than someone else, and that's okay as long as the value of that your values are still aligned. If someone, you can have a disparity if you're both working toward that and communicating about it, and it's not a surprise. Like, you're not coming home to like your significant other buying you a new car, like all these commercials around the holidays,
right? That's the most ridiculous thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that actually happened to me once, and it's not a fun situation. Yeah. And you'll have a combined bank account, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's an important detail also. This has been such an awesome chat. Thank you so much for taking time to share all this. These resources are available for free on your website, which is an incredible just gem of a resource for people who are wanting to learn more about how can they live life differently. Because in the end, it's not about the money, it's about the life. And the two of you just illustrated that so beautifully. So as we close, can you tell people where they can follow your adventures and find those free online resources?
Yeah. So our website is tripovalifestyle.com. It's got the free financial roadmap. I mean, everything on the website is free, but the roadmap is probably the most useful resource, because it's literally a step-by-step guide with deep dives on everything, including like our net worth tracker, like all that stuff available for free. And then we're also on social media. We're Trip of a Lifestyle on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and TOA Lifestyle on Twitter because of character limits. But yeah, we share a lot of fun details and like what stuff costs and how we keep travel inexpensive and where we're going to be at, that kind of stuff on social media. But the really good deep dives, useful, actionable content is all on our website for free.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. This was great.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening. Did you think of someone you know while you listened? Help me grow the show by sharing this episode with that person. There's a share button right on your podcast app. If you listen on Podcast Addict, it's the little molecule-looking symbol at the top right corner of your screen when you're on any one episode. If you liked this episode, you'll also like the episode where I talk with the mother of the financial independence retire early movement about what the point of financial independence is. It's episode 151. Stay tuned next week when I talk with an addiction researcher about if sex addiction is real.